Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Elisa Mulcahy and I'm a woman doctor. That might seem like a normal thing to everybody at school right now, but a long time ago that was a very unusual thing because most doctors were only guys or men. So I'm going to talk to you today about a woman named Elizabeth Blackwell, and I'm going to read you a book about her. She's a woman that we'll learn about today who was the first woman doctor in America. So I grew up in Rainham, and I now have two kids, Casey and Quinn, in the Rainham schools. And when I was little, I always wanted to be a doctor. I thought it was a really cool job to do, and I really liked science. And when you work as a doctor, science plays a big part of your job, and it lets you be able to use your brain and thinking to be able to help people feel better and have healthy lives. Elizabeth Blackwell, you'll see in the book that we're going to read today, she didn't actually always want to be a doctor. When she was little, that wasn't necessarily what she wanted to do, but we'll learn in this book that over time she decided that's the best way she could help people, and that's what she wanted to do, but she had to fight for it. She was actually born in England, and her family came to the United States, to New York City, when she was around 11. And she went to medical school. She was one of the first people to get into medical school, and we'll learn about that in this book. After she went to medical school, she tried to find a job, but because she was a woman doctor, she had a hard time finding anybody to let her work for them. So she tried and tried and tried, and she eventually decided to just go help people, help women and girls that she just came across in the streets that needed help with their health and staying healthy and clean. And she did such a good job that she opened up her own medical hospital for women and kids. And eventually she got to be exactly what she wanted to be and do a good job being a doctor and taking care of people. So today we're going to read a book. The book is called Who Says Women Can't Be Doctors? The Story of Elizabeth Blackwell by Tanya Lee Stone. And it's illustrated by Marjorie Priceman. I'll bet you've met plenty of doctors in your life, and I'll bet lots of them are women. Well, you might find this hard to believe, but there once was a time when girls weren't allowed to become doctors. Back in the 1830s, there were lots of things girls couldn't be. Girls were only supposed to become wives and mothers, or maybe teachers or seamstresses. Being a doctor was definitely not an option. What do you think changed all that? Or should I say, who? Elizabeth Blackwell, that's who. A tiny wisp of a girl who wanted to explore around every corner and who never walked away from a challenge. This was a girl who had once carried her brother over her head until he backed down from their fight. A girl who tried sleeping on the hard floor with no covers just to toughen herself up. A girl who climbed up to her roof and stretched out as far as possible with a spyglass to see what was happening on the other side of town. But she hadn't always wanted to be a doctor. Actually, blood made her queasy. One time, her teacher used a bull's eyeball to show students how eyes work. Elizabeth was repulsed. And she hadn't always wanted to help the sick. She had no patience for being sick herself. Whenever she felt ill, she simply went outside for a walk. Once, when she was little, she hid in a closet until she felt better. She hated anyone fussing over her. So why did she become the first woman doctor? Because one person believed she could and told Elizabeth she was just the kind of smart, determined girl who would change the world. That person was Mary Donaldson. When Elizabeth was 24, she went to visit her friend who was very ill. Mary told Elizabeth that she would have much preferred being examined by a woman. She urged Elizabeth to consider becoming a doctor. At first, Elizabeth could not believe her ears. Even if a girl could be a doctor, why would she want to be one? But Mary's idea gnawed at Elizabeth. A female doctor. Elizabeth thought about it the second she got up in the morning. She thought about it during sewing circles. She thought about it over tea. She even dreamed about it at night. Finally, Elizabeth asked doctors and friends. Some thought it was a good idea, but didn't think there was any way it could be done. Others said it wasn't right. Women are too weak for such hard work. Women aren't smart enough. Ha ha ha. Some people actually laughed at her. They thought she was joking. Elizabeth didn't see anything funny about a woman becoming a doctor. Elizabeth thought it was a fine idea, and her family supported her. She worked as a teacher to earn money and applied to a handful of medical schools, but they all sent back the same answer: no. No woman allowed. She tried other schools. More letters arrived at her door. One by one, the answer was always the same: no, 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 no. 28 no's in all. In different ways, the letters all said the same thing. Women cannot be doctors. They should not be doctors. But Elizabeth didn't believe in couldn't or shouldn't. She refused to give up. She was as stubborn as a mule, quite rightly. One day, an envelope arrived from a college. She opened it, and everything changed. The answer was... yes! Elizabeth packed her bags for Geneva Medical School in upstate New York. The townspeople were expecting her. As she walked down the street, some pointed and stared. They whispered to themselves that she must be wicked or crazy. Elizabeth thought that at least the students wanted her there, except they didn't. The teachers had let the students vote on whether or not to allow Elizabeth to come, and the boys, figuring the school would never really accept a girl, said yes. They planned to turn the whole thing into a big joke. But the joke was on them. Their raucous laughter turned to silence as the ladylike Elizabeth took her seat. They wondered what kind of girl she was, the kind of girl who wouldn't take the bait. Some thought a girl wouldn't be able to keep up. Except Elizabeth did keep up, often studying past midnight. Elizabeth proved she was as smart as any boy, and soon the boys wanted to know what Elizabeth thought about this or that. It took the townspeople longer to accept her. Some people are afraid of anything new or different. Not Elizabeth. On January 23rd, 1849, Elizabeth graduated with the highest grades in the whole class. She had become the first woman doctor in America. Although many people were proud, others were angry. One doctor even wrote, "I hope, for the honor of humanity, that she will be the last." But as you know, she certainly was not. And that's the story where she was able to open her own clinic. Actually, her sister even became a doctor and helped her make her own clinic. And later she moved back to England in London and opened the London School of Medicine for women. So a medical school just for women. She never got married, but she did adopt a little girl who was an orphan, and her name was Kitty Barry. Elizabeth, she lived to the age of 89, and now many schools and hospitals are named in her honor. And now, more than half of all students in medical schools are women. This would not have been possible without the courage and determination of Elizabeth Blackwell. So I'm certainly happy she did what she did so I could do my job. I'm a doctor and I take care of adults. So maybe someday some of you want to be doctors, and I'd love to talk to you about that, if so, someday. Again, my name is Dr. Elisa Mulcahy, and it was great talking to you today and reading a book. Keep reading and enjoying reading, because part of reading helps your brain get strong so that you can do whatever you want to do when you grow up.